Greetings of the day to my dear students. Here I am going to explain the chapter Long Walk to Freedom taken from your book Beehive, written by Nelson Roylal Mandela. It is his autobiography. Uh, Autobiography means a life story of a person written by himself. So let us come to know about this great personality, Nelson Mandela. He was born on 18th of July 1918. He belonged to a royal Tambu family and he was addressed as Madiba. It was his Xhosa clan name. Madiba is a name given to a person in an honor. So he was being called as Madiba in his community. He was a great freedom fighter and he was also the member of African National Congress. As you can see over here, students, it was the year 1918. It was the first decade of 20th century. And the first decade of 20th century was the year in which Anglo-Boer War took place. It was the war between the people of South Africa. The people of South Africa were divided into two categories, the white color and black color people. So the white skinned people won the war and they uh, imposed the system of apartheid on these black skinned colored people. After then, the application of this apartheid system, the condition of these South African people became so miserable, and this Nelson Mandela also was also the part of this humiliation. So Nelson Mandela started uh, fighting against this apartheid system. Apartheid system is the system of racial discrimination, the discrimination on the basis of color of the skin of the people. So Nelson Mandela uh, fought against this system in order to abolish it, and he was taken as rebellion and put behind the bars for around 30 years. It was the year 1994 when he was released, and it was the year when for the first time elections took place in Africa country. The people of the entire country vote for their mm, uh, democratic and republic government, and Nelson Mandela won 252 seats out of 400 and was elected as first black president of South Africa. So let's go back to that historic day, the 10th of May 1994. On this day, dignitaries and world leaders from all around the world had gathered to witness Nelson Mandela, who became the first black president of South Africa. Here, I would like to tell you also, he was also called as the father of nation because he played an important role to abolish the system of apartheid from the entire nation. Just like Mahatma Gandhi, he was referred as the father of nation in his own country as well. So, the 10th May 1994 was the day in which, on which the oath ceremony took place, and people from around the world leaders, the politicians, were gathered for the first time on African soil. It was a time when the people of different nations who earlier had broken down all the relations with South Africa because of the existence of apartheid system there, now come forward to join their hands again with the people of South Africa, with the democratic government. It was the largest international gathering ever held in African soil. He also addressed the gathering, means the Nelson Mandela also addressed the gathering as a rainbow gathering because the people of different caste, color, and creed could be seen once again in on South African soil on this day. It was a perfect formation of all the arrangements being made over there in an amphitheater. Amphitheater is a open area space, open space that was being formed by the union buildings. This is an image of union buildings you can see over on the screen, where earlier this place was exclusively meant for white people only. The black skin color people were restricted to enter in such areas. But now, on 10th of May 1994, when this oath ceremony took place, the people of different nations, around 140 countries, politicians, dignitaries were present over there, and the people of South Africa, whether it is of white color people or of black skinned people, they were present there in that oath ceremony. Nelson Mandela, along with his daughter Zenani, was there at that time. So so many arrangements were being made of, as this was the occasion. It was a ceremony, and it was a day that will be remembered generations after generations in the history of South Africa. So many arrangements were made at grand levels. South African jets, helicopters, troops carriers rode in perfect formation over the Union buildings. They were forming the perfect arrays precisely. It was a spectacular demonstrations by these African jets and helicopters. It was awestruck performances, military demonstration of their loyalty towards a new democratic government was could also be seen there. Highest generals of South African Defence Force and police saluted Nelson Mandela. At this time, when these highest generals bearing ribbons and medals on their chest were saluting them, at this time Nelson Mandela was conscious about the memories of history of his old time, of that time when he was being imprisoned behind the bars, when these generals were imprisoned him, making him behind the bars, putting him behind the bars. Now they all were saluting before him. Uh, Here, a chevron of Impala jets leaving a smoke trail of new South African flag, representing the colors in South African flag: black, red, green, blue, and gold, were making the perfect demonstration precisely. Chevron here means a zigzag pattern formed in a V shape by the Impala jets. So it was a spectacular performances by them. As symbolically on this day, the two national anthems were sung by the people of the country, by the white skinned people and the black skinned people. Nkosi Sike E Africa national anthem was being sung by white people and Dice team by the black people. They all were showing the dignity and honor towards each other national anthem. Nelson and Mandela, in his speech on the day of oath ceremony on the day of 10th of May 1994, he took the oath in front of many other politicians and dignitaries uh, who were gathered over there. Uh, he conferred glory and upon hope to newborn liberty since they achieved political emancipation. Emancipation here means political freedom from political restrictions. So the people who were earlier were restricted to participate in political positions. Now they got liberty, they got freedom in to participate in these areas as well. He pledged to liberate the Africans from continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender, and other discrimination as well. He even said that never, never again the people of South Africa would be oppressed by any other country. Oppression here means exploitation. The sun would never set in Africa, and the darkness of darkness of uh, poverty, deprivation, sufferings, and other discrimination would never be seen by the people of South Africa again in their lives. He prayed God to bless South Africa, the people of his country. On this day, he was thankful to those freedom fighters who sacrificed their lives for the sake of his country, for the people of his country. The Bram Fischers, Yusuf Dados, Oliver Tambos, Walter Sisslers, so many other freedom fighters who took part in this freedom fighting process. He was very thankful to all these freedom fighters, and he also hoped, wished that these all people could be here to see what their sacrifices had wrought. Wrought means brought here. How the people are liberated from that apartheid system. It was paining him that he was not able. Those freedom fighters were not able to see what their sacrifices had brought today. Thank you, students. He learnt many things from his comrades. Comrades means his friends. He learnt the meaning of courage since he saw them risking and giving their life. He saw men tortured and showed their strength and resilience. Resilience means the power to bear something, to come out of that torture and discrimination. Those people were being tortured and humiliated to the limits. They were pushed out to the limits, but still they were showing their resilience and courage that they will be fighting against the apartheid system. That courage had brought an energy in Nelson Mandela as well. He believed that brave are the one who conquers fear without being scared of. They uh, they won triumph over their fears. From other people also, he learned that people know to love. They don't need to be taught how to love, but hate on the other. If they know how to hate others, then they will be learning also how to love each other, because love comes naturally. He believed that man's goodness is a flame that can never be extinguished. He gave an instance over here. When he was there in a prison, he could see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards for just a second. When he and his comrades and the other freedom fighters were being tortured to the grimmest of their level, to the beyond of their limits. At that time, he had seen the flame of the spark of humanity in one of the guards. That it was just for a moment, but that flame, that fire and the spark was enough for Nelson Mandela to bring in him the courage and to fought for his nation. He also delivered in his speech that every person, every citizen of the country is having the two obligations. So, according to him, every a man has twin obligations. One obligation is towards his family and towards his parents, towards his wife, towards his children, and the other obligation is towards the nation, towards the community, towards the people of his country. And it was very difficult for the colored man, for the people of South Africa, where there was the existence of apartheid system, where the people were discriminated on the basis of their colors. It was very difficult for them to meet out these two obligations, because they were not free. They were taken apart when they were tried to work for their nation. They were taken as rebellions and were forced to be isolated from their families. They were imprisoned. It was very difficult for the people of South Africa to meet out those two obligations. Here, freedom means different, is having the different meanings at different stages of life. Like when Nelson Mandela was a child, when he was a child, he enjoyed the freedom that was only a illusion. Illusions means the freedom was not real in the sense. He was born free, free in every spheres of life. He was free to run in the field near his mother's hut. He was free to swim in clear stream that ran through his village. He was free to roast mealies. Mealies is a kind of grain that we used to roast and enjoy under the stars, and ride the broad backs of slow moving bulls in the fields. He was free to do all these things when he was a child. Such kind of freedom, he is saying that it was an illusion, it was not real. As a student also, he wanted freedom only for himself. He called it as a transitory freedom. Transitory means it was not permanent. He wanted to stay out at night. He wanted to read what he pleased. He wanted to go where he wanted to. So such kind of freedom he wanted when he was a student. As a young man, when he grew young in Johannesburg, he yearned the basic and honorable freedom of achieving his potential. He wanted to keep his earning. He wanted to marry to whom he wanted to. At first, he did not choose his country over his family. He first chose his family, but later on, he saw that the people like him in his country were not free. It was then that he was filled with a desire to achieve freedom for his people so they could lead lives of dignity and self respect. And then he joined the African National Congress. So we come to know that the reason behind his joining the African National Congress, he joined this National Congress, African National Congress secretly. He realized that not only he but all his African brothers and sisters were not free. Everyone's freedom was curtailed. They were restricted to do what they want. They were not allowed to participate in political positions. They were restricted to go to certain places. Then only Nelson Mandela's hunger for his own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of his nation. He also believed that the freedom is indivisible, it cannot be divided. Chains on any one of his people were chains on all of them, and chains on all of the people were chains on him. A man, he also believed that the oppressor and the oppressed are behind the bars of prison. They are facing uh, uh, they are all imprisoned and they need to be liberated. Oppressor and oppressed, we all know very well. Oppressor is the person who is torturing, who is humiliating the others, and oppressed who is being humiliated. Okay, so both are behind the bars of prison. Oppressor is behind the bars of prison in the sense that he is having the hatred, he is having the prejudices. Prejudices means hating without no reason. So narrow mindedness. So these bars of hatred should and prejudices should be broken down. So oppressor and oppressed both need to be liberated. All these things had transformed Nelson Mandela to a person into a bold one. Earlier he was a frightened young man, but now became bold enough to fight for the people of his country against the system of apartheid. Apartheid is the system in which the people are discriminated on the basis of their colors. This also transformed the law-abiding attorney into a criminal. Criminal in the sense that he was fighting against the system of apartheid. He wanted to abolish this system completely from the country because it had brought the misery in among the people of his country. So he wanted to abolish this system completely from his country. From the family loving husband, he became a man without home. And from life loving man, he turned into a monk. So, this transformation took place in Nelson Mandela. So, in the last, we can say that Nelson Mandela was a patriotic man who sacrificed his life just for the good and betterment of his people, for the people of his country, and became the first black president of a non-racial democratic republic government. I hope this video, this presentation will help you a lot in better understanding the chapter, and you will be getting through his speech what he wanted, what the sacrifices had made by our freedom fighters to make the country free. Thank you, students, and have a nice day.